You know the vibes. Welcome back to another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast presented by NBA 2K24. Myself, Maruzi, alongside BJ Armstrong, as always. BJ, how you been?
Well, I can't complain. It's like they say, it is what it is. It is what it is. I can't complain.
See, I left New York, came back and did an episode. And after that episode, I'm like, yes, the podcast is back. And then BJ hits me saying he's going to New York now. Yes. It's like he waited for me to leave until he got there.
No,
seen that jump shot. He was like, I don't want to see Mo on the court. You know what I'm saying?
but I can tell you this. It's New York. New York is beautiful. It's beautiful in New York.
For real. How was New York, though, B? You good?
It was great. It was great. I was able to attend a couple of events out there. So a lot of people, I didn't get a chance to spend time with the commissioner like you did, when you come in town.
Come on.
However, I was able to, just, kind of check in a little bit.
Let me ask you this. You're big on your food. Number one place in New York that you have to eat at. Number one place.
That's impossible.
Off the first top of all, the first one that pops in your head.
Well, it's impossible to say that. The food is just excellent in New York. Okay.
If I'm in New York for one day and I've never been before, where do I have to go? That's the question.
Just stop anywhere. Just stop Mo. You can get any type of food, authentic though. People, they'll go to places and they'll say, oh, they have the best this. Mo, you can find the best burger in the world there. You can find the best Italian food.
Outside of Italy.
Outside.
Yeah. We got to put it, because my Italian friends, they get sensitive about these things,
Yeah, but I can tell you what, it's pretty darn close.
Oh,
okay? It's pretty
pizza?
Yeah, let me tell you close.
Let me tell you the number one thing in New York. I had for the first time a chopped cheese.
Oh, yeah. So you can get anything there.
I don't know why they don't do chopped cheese in London. Anyone who's listening to this and is rich, if you want to start a chopped cheese business, let me know. We'll come and do a podcast in the chopped cheese store. Let me know.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You can find any culture, any type of food. It may not be 100% authentic, but it's 99.9999%. And in some cases, Mo, it may be even better. It's just the food is phenomenal. So if I tell you just one place, no. Mo, I've been in New York.
I feel you.
I've been in New York, I don't know, for going on 35, 40 years. And I'm going to tell you, every single time I'll go to a new place and you'll just stop in a place and it'll be the best version of whatever it is you're looking for.
I feel you, Doc.
You know what I mean, Mo? When you say street food, they got the best. When you say pizza, pretzel, whatever you're looking for, Mo, what best fast food? I'm not even a fast food person, but it tastes a little. But it tastes a little different there.
it's that New York grease. It's that New York tap water that's in the pizza dough. It just gives the sign.
I am convinced of this. The reason the pizza there is so good is because the water is dirty.
Yeah, that's what everyone tells me. By the way, if you're new here, this is not a food show. If you're regular,
yes, it is a food show. You
understand the vibe.
You want to get me excited?
Hey,
let's get dinner reservations going.
Speaking of food, I've been cooking on NBA 2K24. You can check me out on Twitch every day, Monday to Friday. Twitch.tv/hoopgenius. You see the segue, BJ? You see it's effortless.
I saw that. That was effortless
now.
Smooth.
You can catch me on Twitch. That
was pretty smooth.
On Twitch, I was getting cooked the other day, though. I can't lie. Some of these guys online now, they're too good. But you can catch me on Twitch and you can get your copy of NBA 2K24 through the link in the description of the show. And I have been giving out a couple copies during my Twitch stream. So if you want to get lucky and get a copy of the game, tune in over there, subscribe. But let's talk about the NBA.
Okay.
We had a possible signing last week as Dwight Howard was working out with the Warriors, and then he went to work out with Chris Paul and Draymond Green, and it looked like an almost sure thing. And this is how I know it's the offseason, because Shams did an emergency news alert about a team not signing a player. He's putting capital letters, breaking news. I'm thinking something crazy has happened. It was the Warriors aren't signing Dwight Howard. To which Dwight Howard responds on Twitter with a cryptic message: only a warrior can withstand the path of knowledge. A warrior cannot complain or regret anything, blah, blah, blah. It's some motivational quote. The Warriors obviously decided not to sign him to maintain their roster flexibility and maybe sign a big man after training camp begins or later in the season. So maybe there's more moves to be made there. But I really like the idea of having Dwight Howard on the Warriors. You know, what he brought to the Lakers title run and what JaVale McGee has brought to the Warriors in previous years on their runs to winning championships. I feel like they lack size in the front court outside of Kevon Looney. Draymond Green is obviously a little bit older in his career and he can't play that many minutes at the center position like he used to. And the league is now shifting away from small ball with other teams getting much bigger, running double big lineups. And you may want to have paint presence who can block shots at the rim and also a pick and roll presence, especially with Chris Paul now on the team, to be able to come off the bench and dive to the hoop, offensive rebound, all those things. So I like Dwight Howard, just the concept of a player like Dwight Howard. You know, a Dwight Howard, a JaVale McGee type player, 7 foot, athletic, can catch a lob out of the middle of the air, can block shots on a defensive end, can set solid screens because screening is a huge part of their offense. I would like a player like that on my team. Obviously, the downside for Dwight, where he doesn't compete with people like Andrew Bogut, who were previously on the Warriors, is the playmaking side of things. Because Andrew Bogut was a fantastic passer, and other bigs they've had have been able to pass the ball. But I like the idea of adding Dwight Howard to the depth. What did you think of the potential fit if they were to go ahead and sign him?
Well, you know, Mo, the thing that makes it interesting about the Golden State Warriors is it's September, Mo, and we're already talking about roster construction, right? And
we never stop.
You know how I feel about constructing your team and playing to your strengths and minimizing your weaknesses when you are putting together your team and constructing a roster. Now, their best player on their team is clearly Steph Curry. So now you have to figure out how are you going to maximize his strengths, especially at his age, right? But he's 34 now, somewhere around there. And you are trying to maximize what he does well, right? What does he do well? He plays in the open court. Clearly, you're going to run an offense, a free-flowing offense, because his best part of his game is moving without the ball. And you have to provide space for him to do his thing. Okay. Now, you have to be very careful when you play with Steph Curry, because if you have a center or a player like that, you can only play him for so many minutes with Steph Curry. The reason being is because you will limit his ability playing with a starting center. You will limit his ability to get to the basket. Why? It's because I don't care what, Dwight Howard does. His defender will always provide rim protection.
Yeah, because he's not a shooting threat.
He's not a shooting threat. Now, so you'll say, well, what about Kevon Looney? Well, Kevon Looney is a player that he's not, for the most part, going to play enough minutes at that position, because the starting center is really Draymond Green. Yeah. That's what makes Kevon Looney interesting, is because in Kevon Looney's role, he's a star in his role.
Yeah.
He's a star. I mean, think about it. I mean, you're looking at a guy that, if you look at him in his role as a backup center, that's as good as I think you can get in the NBA. Even though he starts, he plays as a backup, because Draymond Green is clearly the starting center when it's time to go there.
Yeah, well, we talk about closing lineups, probably is a better term to use, who they're going to close.
But Draymond Green is going to play a minimum of 15 to 20 minutes a night at the center position. Okay. Those are starter minutes. Okay. And, out of his 35 minutes a night during the course of the regular season, he's going to play, without question, in the playoffs, over half the game at the center position, because that's his best position. Draymond's best position is the center position, even though he starts at the 4 and he does a terrific job at the 4 as well. Yeah. But his best position is the 5 position.
Yeah, he spent 25% of his minutes at the center position last season.
Yes. Okay. So now, once the playoffs begin, we know that's gonna go up. That just is what it is now. So now, if you add Dwight Howard to that mix, that's going to eat up the lineup that he really wants to go to. Because you got to find a way to keep him engaged into the game. You got to keep him in some form of condition because he's clearly good enough to play.
Yeah, I think it's more my thought process is when Steph's on the bench and Chris Paul is on the court.
Yeah, that's fine. But Steph Curry is going to play 35 minutes minimum.
Yeah.
So that leaves 13 minutes. So that's 6 minutes in the one half, 7 minutes in the other.
I like that. And then you can spot some minutes in when you need it, with Steph. Because at the moment, they've got projected Draymond at the 5 if they're going to start Chris Paul. And if they don't start Chris Paul, it'll be Looney at the 5. And then the backup bigs, they've really got Dario Saric, who's really a power forward, not a center anyway.
Well, as I see with their roster and the way they play, you're going to need to keep that floor spaced. Now, Dario Saric makes sense to me is because he can keep the floor spaced.
And he's got some playmaking as well.
So you have two centers, Draymond, even though he will shoot the 3, he's not shooting it at a very high percentage. Some nights you won't even be able to play Kevon Looney because he doesn't shoot it at all. And then Dario Saric will allow you to play with the spacing necessary and how they want to play. Ball movement, player movement, so forth and so on. And they will put emphasis on their best player. So this all makes sense to me. I think the name of Dwight Howard is a good name. He's obviously, to me, he's still a really good player at, especially if you're looking at him as a backup, very physical, provides something that they can't have. However, I don't think it complements their best player. I don't think that complements Steph. I don't think it complements Klay Thompson. I don't think it complements how they want to play. Now, it'll be interesting to see, especially if they get off to a slow start. Maybe they feel that he'll be available. Maybe he'll be available, in November as well. So we'll see. However, you have to find ways to complement what your best player is going to need. It's not like he's getting younger. It's not like he's maintaining this excellent level of play. But at any moment, though, Mo, we all know at this age, especially for a small guard, you could, if you lose a step here, there, or half a step or what have you, it could change the trajectory of who he is or his effectiveness as a player.
Yeah.
And he seems to be ageless. I mean, he's still playing at a very high level, obviously.
Yeah.
But at some point, Mo, age catches up. Father Time doesn't pass anyone.
I hear it. I do hear it. Are there any teams that you think Draymond Green would be great to be added to?
Draymond Green or Dwight Howard?
Oh, Dwight Howard. Sorry. Yeah, Dwight Howard.
Oh, yeah, Dwight Howard. Well, I think that the team, to me, just from a basketball perspective, would seem to me to be the Miami Heat.
Let Bam play at the 4 a little bit more.
Well, they're a very small team. I mean, they got to the NBA Finals last year, but just having an able body to allow Bam to be the best version of himself. Again, this is just without knowing anything. Sometimes, Mo, I love this saying by coaches and executives. You never know who a player is until you coach them.
Yeah.
You never know. And, I remember when I first saw Al Horford and I thought, wow, he was playing the 5 in Atlanta. And I thought, God, if he could really play his natural position to me at the 4, I was thinking.
That's what he played in college with Joakim Noah.
Yeah, but then I quickly learned and realized over the years that he is a undersized 5 who is more comfortable as a 5 than he is as a 4. Some players, you'll learn
think a lot of it is a fit though, because Joakim Noah was kind of unique in what he did on the court at the center position. Not many centers can pass like him, and
that's what I'm saying. Sometime you will have the right combination of the right fit for you. And that was that complemented. They complemented one another the way they play, because I don't think Joakim Noah is a traditional 5.
No.
Nor do I think Al Horford is a traditional 5 or a traditional 4. But at their size, you're saying, Al should be probably a 4 more than a 5. However, he's way more effective as a 5 than he is a 4.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you find out ball players. I'm looking at it going, if Bam could have played against Aaron Gordon or Michael Porter Jr. in the finals for 25 minutes a night, that changes to me the outcome of the game. I'm not saying they would have won the series. However,
it may have been closer.
Yes, it would have been a different game plan. Okay. Bam playing against Aaron Gordon is different than Bam having to play against Jokic.
Yeah.
And to me, that is what this league is all about. It's always about matchups. I think having Bam play against PJ Tucker in a series, if they play the Philadelphia 76ers, is different than Bam having to play against Joel Embiid.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm not saying for your Celtics, Bam playing at the 5 against Al Horford, that's probably a good matchup for Bam.
Oh, the Time Lord as well.
Against the time, that's a good matchup for him.
Yeah.
However, when he plays against those bigger players, size,
Cleveland,
size is a problem. You know what I mean? It's a problem. So
Milwaukee.
That's just an observation. Bam, playing against Brook Lopez. Those guys are big. They're 7 feet. 300 pounds, somewhere around there. So, but I would think that Dwight Howard playing in that culture probably would benefit him, especially if they're able to make the trade that we're all patiently waiting for.
This is what I wanted to ask you about as well. The imminent, apparently, Damian Lillard to Miami trade. Our friend Mark Spears reported earlier this week. I don't know if you saw this while you were out in New York doing what you do. I don't know if you saw it, but he said that there is a mystery team in the Eastern Conference that he doesn't want to disclose yet, but are trying to get in the mix for Damian Lillard.
Okay.
Now, who off the top of your head do you think could be that mystery team?
I think it was Chicago Bulls. I think.
Oh, why do you think that? Because I thought of a different team.
Well, because at some point here, my bullies are going to probably have to do something.
Oh, they have to.
And they have 2 all-star caliber players, and Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. Both of those guys are playing probably somewhere near, I always believe there's room for improvement, but they're playing somewhere near their peak. I mean, DeMar DeRozan right now, arguably, is playing the best basketball of his career.
Yeah.
And Zach LaVine, if he stays healthy and he can play like this or at this level for, let's say, anywhere from the next 3 to 5 years, that would be phenomenal.
He's an all-star player if he's healthy.
Okay. Yes. Now, I think those guys have to be in the mix, the Bulls, because I don't see anything else the Bulls can do. The Bulls are going to have to make some type of trade here to do something. Mm-hmm. Now, because Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan is going to keep them somewhere in the middle of the pack. And that's probably the one place you don't want to be. If you're
you want to be in a play-in. So you're not getting a high draft pick and you're not really getting to the playoffs. You're in the play-in.
You're in the play-in
in the first round.
And I'm sure they are thinking to themselves, well, if we would have stayed healthy, we wouldn't.
They were fantastic with Lonzo healthy, but Lonzo being healthy doesn't look like it's going to happen.
And Patrick Beverley last year, I thought, saved their season. I don't know what you thought about it. We didn't talk much about the Bulls.
I like that because they've added Javon Carter. Obviously, Patrick Beverley's gone, but they've added Javon Carter, which offers some similar full court pressure defense, and I think he can shoot a little bit better.
I thought Pat Bev. I saw them. Well, you and I both saw them in London,
in Paris,
and in Paris. Yes, in Paris. I said London. In Paris, we saw them in Paris.
Yep.
They were kind of just flailing along during the course of the regular season. They looked like they weren't going to make even the play-in game, let alone the playoffs. And then suddenly Patrick Beverley comes and their season just turns around. Mm-hmm. Now, more so than his defense, I thought his leadership and he gave them
the intangibles of making everyone want to buy in on the defensive side.
I thought what he did there, I thought in the latter part of the season was just simply incredible, right? They won. They beat Toronto, if I remember right. Did they beat Toronto in one of the games or something? They won one game,
with
right?
DeMar DeRozan's daughter screaming.
Yes,
during the free throws. It was.
So I mean, the Chicago Bulls were really good in the way they played. They almost beat the Miami Heat. I mean, think about that.
Yeah. Up until the end of the fourth quarter, they were up. Yes. They looked like they were going to the playoffs. They were up.
So give them credit. But I think now they are in a situation where they're going to have to do something, because if things don't pan out this year, I think it's going to be disaster, because I could see now, I don't know what they're going to do with DeMar DeRozan, but his deal has to be coming up. Zach LaVine has already been hints thrown out there before about Zach LaVine. And I don't know when Alonzo, hopefully he comes back, but what are we going to expect if he does come back? From an injury like that.
I think Alex Caruso being back will be big for them. But the team I thought about when they said a mystery Eastern Conference team is the team who is run by a man who loves taking risks, a man who actually won a championship with a star who was adamant to get to a destination.
Oh, not the Jazz.
No. Eastern Conference, PJ. I'm talking about the Toronto Raptors and Masai Ujiri.
No.
Why not?
Well, his best player is Scotty Barnes.
Okay, for now.
His best player.
And when he turns Scotty Barnes into Giannis, and you have Damian Giannis on the same team, how about then?
Well, I'll believe that when I see it. that money doesn't even match up, right? So how are you going to get Giannis?
Scotty Barnes plus everyone else, I guess.
Scotty Barnes is on a rookie contract.
He'll find a way.
Yeah, I mean, financially, Damian Lillard is making what? I mean, he's
too much.
Well, he's making like, I know he's like, he's making like north of 60 million. Yeah, and then you're going to add Giannis to that, who's going to have to, he's up for a new deal. How are you going to build a team? And that's impossible. I mean, it's fun to play with it, but you're going to build a team around Giannis and Damian Lillard in Toronto. No, I don't think so at those numbers. You're not the Warriors. Okay. You're not Ballmer. Okay. You're talking, you need to be Ballmer on this one. Like, Ballmer is probably the only one that can pull something off.
Right, especially with that second apron now.
Like, yeah. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but it's fun. It's fun to say that. I get it. I get why you're saying it.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
yeah, but no, I think if Giannis goes somewhere, Giannis is going to have to be traded for another superstar. Yeah, he's going to have to trade for another.
Well, let me ask you this, because I said this on my stream the other day, right? The Milwaukee Bucks don't have many options for the future. They traded away a lot of their picks. Drew Holiday says he's going to retire when his contract's up. Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez are older, injuries, whatnot. I want to float something to you. And I just said it, off the top of my head. I didn't really put too much thought into it.
Okay.
But I said, if the Oklahoma City Thunder are just playing really good basketball this year, and they just surprise everyone and finish higher than they think, because they have the boatload of picks, like every pick ever for the future of the NBA, could there be a world where they just try and trade for Giannis and offer all of the picks possible, plus some salaries that will match? Or I think they even below the thing. So
financially, I just don't think
they can absorb the salary, right? Because they're below the cap, or they will be at some point during the season.
Yeah.
Is there a way that they could then trade for Giannis and have Giannis with Chet and Shea, and maybe they'd have to give up Giddey and J.D. Williams or something? But is there a way in the world that the Oklahoma City Thunder could trade for Giannis?
Is there a way? Yes. Do I think they would do it? No.
Why not?
Because how are you going to build a team in Oklahoma City? It's not a free agent destination.
Well, I mean, you've got Giannis, you've got Shea.
Okay, you got Giannis, you got Shea.
Two all NBA players on your team.
Okay, you got Giannis and you got Shea. Okay. All right.
They got some pieces. They got some pieces.
Yeah, but at this stage,
How did they build a championship team in Milwaukee around Giannis? When
through the draft, like everyone else.
Who did they draft on that championship winning team? Who was the draft pick in Milwaukee?
They drafted Giannis. Okay, you got to draft one of these guys
outside of Giannis, right? So okay, so they've drafted Shea, so he's there.
Yes, no, Shea was drafted by.
Oh yeah, they traded for him from the Clippers. Yeah. Yes. I forget because they got all the picks.
Yeah, you have to go through the draft.
So they've drafted
going through the draft.
They've drafted Chet for one of their big three. Okay, they've drafted.
You have to draft one of these guys.
Yeah, but the rest of the team in Milwaukee traded for Drew Holiday.
Okay,
they found Chris Middleton when he was in and out of the G League. Brook Lopez, was he traded or was he a free agent to get there?
Free agent.
So free agent signed in Milwaukee. Yeah. PJ Tucker traded for midseason. The rest of the team, who are the major contributors that that they really built through the draft in Milwaukee?
When you're building these teams, you have to draft one of these guys. All right, you have to draft because the last thing you want is to draft a player, trade for one of these players, and then they ask for a trade because that just depletes your team. So you have to draft one of these players. You have to draft Steph Curry. You have to draft, all of these players. Luka. You got to draft a star player. Now, they have a star player in Giannis, make no doubt about it. They made a trade, and they got another all-star caliber player in Drew Holiday. Check. Now, your organization, for the most part, whether you do it in the draft, you do it in a trade, or you do it in free agency where you get a player, and that player either outperforms who we thought he's going to be, or you just get lucky. They develop. All right, so what's the ways that you improve your team? You go through the draft, you go through free agency, you go from trades, and you do it from within. There's 4 ways to get better, improve your team. Chris Middleton was drafted, I believe, in the 2nd round by the Detroit Pistons. Chris Middleton has evolved.
Look how proud you look that the Detroit Pistons drafted him.
Because this is what you do. You draft Manu Ginobili and these guys.
In the 2nd round. Yeah.
I mean, and looking back at it, how could Manu Ginobili go in the 2nd round? I mean, when you think
who
about
who else was scouting the Italian league at that time?
We're looking all over the world, clearly.
Yeah,
clearly. So when you find a player and they outperform where they were drafted, that's just excellent by your organization. Just like the Warriors with Draymond Green.
Yep. Jokic.
Okay. Steph Curry. I mean, think about
he wasn't a top 10 pick.
Yeah, Steph Curry was a top 10. Yeah, Steph Curry was top 10.
He was behind Johnny Flynn.
Okay, but this is what I'm saying. You have to.
Oh yeah, he was
players. 7th. He was like 7th or somewhere around there. However, you can't forget like Ricky Rubio, Tyreek Evans. I remember this draft. Johnny Flynn. These guys all went ahead of him.
Shout out to Hasheem Thabeet, 2nd overall.
So think about this. Griffin. Not one guard went ahead of Steph Curry. 3 guards.
Yeah.
3 point guards went ahead of Steph Curry.
And James Harden went at 3 in that draft.
Okay.
So 4 guards.
Yes. Okay.
And as great as James Harden is, he's not Steph Curry.
Okay. So when you get one of these players, now those players do what great players do. They make players around them better. I'm not taking away anything from the players what they're doing. However, when you get one of these great players, they make players around them better. So there's a balance. Most of the time, those great players are what we call standalone players. Doesn't matter where they go. They're going to be great. However, Jokic, I'm not saying those guys aren't good because they're professional NBA players. However, Jokic makes them all a little bit better. Okay.
Big
okay.
Time.
That's just what it is. Like Steph Curry, those guys are good, but Steph Curry draws so much attention, it makes those other guys a little bit better. Okay. That's part of the responsibility of a great player. So, give Giannis credit. I mean, Brook Lopez was a minimum player when they got him. So you mean to tell me there were 29 other teams that didn't value Brook Lopez before he gets to Milwaukee? Like,
He wasn't this Brook Lopez before he got to Milwaukee, though.
Exactly, because those great players make you a little bit better. That's just the way it works. So now everyone is like, oh, I got to have a stretch five like Brook Lopez. Think about that. Everybody could have had Brook Lopez. If you gave him $1 over the minimum, he probably would have gone. Maybe a couple of tickets to Disney World. He definitely okay.
There's no Disney World in Milwaukee.
$1 and a couple of tickets to Disney World over the summer, and
you don't need a ticket. He lives there. He has a house there. Yeah,
that's just what I'm saying. So, in saying that, now it's important to just say, you know what, your job never ends. And then think about this, Mo. Every year we get excited about the trade deadline. Why? It's because just because it doesn't work in one place doesn't mean it can't work in another. So sometimes it's about fit. Sometimes it's about a system. Sometimes it's about complementing a certain player or a certain aspect of your game that fits with the coach or whatever. Like Josh Hart last year. Like, I thought he was a good player in Portland, but he gets to New York last year and he was really, really good. Yeah, he was really, it works for him. So, it goes both ways. Sometimes you'll get a player and you think it's going to work and it doesn't work at all. Doesn't mean that he's a bad player. Just, it wasn't a good fit for whatever the reason may be. But so I think it's a combination of things. And I think that's what keeps the NBA interesting, is because you really don't know what's going to work until you get out there. But that's the fun part about building a team too. And some of these executives, they've mastered the art. Pat Riley has mastered the art. He's mastered that art, and I mean, when you look at their team, I mean, Mo, think about this. I mean, they have the most undrafted guys, ever. And they got to the NBA finals. Now, Mo,
they had Caleb Martin cooking conference finals. Gabe Vincent went and got a bag from the Lakers. Max Strus went and got a bag from Cleveland.
Mo, these were undrafted players. So clearly, Mo, there's something in the water down there. There's something in the eye of their scouts that they've identified to say, this works here. Now, it'll be interesting to see next year.
Yeah.
Does it work?
Versus though, also not just who they find, is their system of how they operate on a day-to-day basis. Also, as a franchise, especially being in Miami, they run a tight ship, and the culture and all of that we're not going to get into. But I want to know from you guys listening, where do you think Dame will end up? Where do you think Giannis will end up? Where do you think Dwight Howard will end up? If you join our Discord server, that's linked in the description, there is a tab inside that says, let us hear from you. If you click on that tab, you can send us your questions for the podcast. You can send us your hot takes. You can send us your opinions so we can react to them live on the show. So come and join the Discord community.
Mo, as you were saying, where do I think Giannis will end up?
Let them know.
I think Giannis.
Let them know.
I'm just going to say this.
Let them know.
I have no idea, and I'm not talking to anyone. So
this is not reporting.
No, this is not reporting. This is
just talking.
Just talking, couple guys talking. I think Damian Lillard ends up where he should end up is Boston.
No, don't put Damian.
Yeah,
that's
where he should end up.
That's where
he should end up. Okay, that's where he should end up because financially it works.
How?
Because they have the pieces to do it. Jaylen Brown plus whatever.
No, thank you.
Okay, I'm not saying we agree with it.
We'll get into
I'm just saying financially it works.
Okay,
but Giannis, you know where Giannis works? It's Golden State. That's where he works.
That's where he works. For anyone who doesn't like the Warriors, that would be hell on earth. Steph Curry and Giannis just running through the league.
That's where it could work.
Yeah,
that's where it could work. Because if he doesn't sign,
despite everything we said earlier about having a non-shooting big on the floor,
there are certain players that impact the game. Okay,
well, you don't need to shoot.
Okay, now clearly we prefer shooting. However, Do you prefer shooting or do you prefer winning? He is the most impactful player in the.
That's a bar. Giannis needs to caption that on a picture. That's a bar.
Yeah. He impacts the game. Now, he to me works for them.
Mm-hmm.
He works for them.
I don't know how the money works, but he works.
It will work for them. It will work for them because they have now, because they will have not one, but they'll have two players. See, when you're a small market team, who just did this? The Utah Jazz. They just did it with Collins. They acquired a guy, a nice contract. So this is a prevailing thought with some executives in small market teams. You acquire a player who has a minimum of 3 years left on his deal, and you count that in a trade as your free agency.
Yeah, so you can acquire a bigger salary.
Yes. So you get John Collins, you probably wouldn't get him in free agency, but you acquired that contract, and that's a nice contract to have in free agency, just in case you might need it for something else. But more importantly, that's a very good player. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah. I hear you.
So that was great by Danny Ainge.
Always
analyzing his market, knowing that he probably won't get a free agent. However, he can't miss in the draft if you're in Utah, and you can't miss a good player if you have a chance to get him.
Especially at the cost he got John Collins for basically nothing, like a second-round pick.
Exactly. And this is where I think the contracts of Draymond, and I think whatever they sign, like
Clay extension,
Clay will be
at the final year of his deal.
I think those are contracts where you'll say you can move it because you can't lose a guy like that for nothing.
Yeah.
But you can't lose him for nothing on a guy on an expiring contract, and now you have nothing in a year to show for it. You follow me, Mo?
Yeah, I hear you.
You see what I'm saying? So if you get a guy with 1 year remaining, that guy comes there, plays out that year, and then he's gone, and then suddenly you lose Giannis and you have nothing. So what you could do is trade a player. You could trade for those players and then move them on to something else and get back what you're talking about, which is draft picks, draft collateral, young, and decide we want to go young or whatever. Yeah. And now you look back and say, well, you can't really assess this trade until like 10 years from now.
I hear you.
It's
tough to make those trades because you've not got the same leverage because everyone knows you need to make those trades. Say you're the Bucks, you trade for Clay and Draymond. You're going to have to sell cheap on them because people know you're not trying to keep those two guys.
There you go. So I think someone like that, I think the Warriors know this. I just think the Warriors know this because I'm looking at the numbers and I'm going, those are movable contracts.
Wiggins as well.
Wiggins, those are so if you got back, let's just say Wiggins plus.
Yeah.
You can move that. And Wiggins says, okay, I don't want to be there. Well, you can get back draft picks. You can get back a lot to revamp your team and say, we decided we're going to go in a different direction. So now you'll say, well, we got 3 draft first round picks for Giannis, and this is what it turned into. And now you got 3 bites at the apple now to get one right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at some of their future draft picks. They've got a Celtics pick, a Grizzlies pick, first rounders. Their own first rounder, their own first rounder. Like they've got a bunch of picks as well.
Yeah, I just think I think the Warriors they're signing their guys back, but they're signing them at numbers where they know they can move them if need be. You follow me?
Yeah.
Just an option. I'm not saying they are doing that. I'm not saying that's even been in there. But what I'm saying is, if you and I, Mo, were in the room, this is what we would be doing. These were the discussions you and I would be having. Yeah. And I would be encouraging you, let's sign player back because, Mo, when you trade a player or you don't sign a player, you have to have a means to replace that player. Like Kuminga, for instance. He may not be playing a lot of minutes there, but let me tell you something. I bet you there are about 25 other teams that would love to have a Kuminga.
That project there for Kuminga, I think he could be really good.
Yeah, so, you trade the other pieces and suddenly now your big 3 now is Kuminga, Giannis, and Steph Curry. That's a pretty good start, okay? And you got him on a rookie deal. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So when you're thinking about these teams, you're always thinking about the future, thinking about how your team is going to be right now, but also always keeping yourself in the mix because you got to keep doing it. But I don't know anything. But what I'm saying, Mo, those are the discussions
I feel you.
all the teams are having. I'm sure they all are having. So it's not like I'm saying.
Because I find it funny. I tweeted the other day, like someone tweeted like the Knicks are monitoring Giannis' situation, the Raptors are monitoring Giannis' situation, and I was like, every team in the NBA is monitoring Giannis' situation because every team in the NBA would want him on their team. If the Nuggets can go and get Giannis and disassemble their championship roster, I bet you they do it. If the Celtics can go and if the Heat can go, anyone will take Giannis. But that's that. So let us know in the Discord. Join the community. We have some great basketball conversations in there. I gave away some copies of 2K on my stream. Might even give away a few more in the Discord. So get involved, join the conversation, and we'll be back tomorrow with more from the Hoop Genius podcast. Appreciate it as always, BJ. It's good to have you back. We'll keep the show rolling. We've got one more week, and then I'm off for a little preseason action in the Middle East, but we'll talk about that.
He just threw that out there. I just
got to let the people know, we'll do this week, then next week I'm away, and then once I'm back for good, and we're not stopping until the season's done. All right?
Let's get it. Okay.
I'm going to see you guys soon. Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like, all that good stuff, and most importantly, get buckets.